In this lesson, we're going to have a look at a soulful chord progression and a slick slide solo that goes right on top. Let's dig in. When you play a lead, the chords that you're playing over matter so much. So let's ditch the slide right now and let's start unpacking the chord progression behind that piece that you just heard. Now, my ears are tuned to the blues, so I'm always gravitating toward the grittier sounds of dominant seventh chords, things like that. But here we're aiming for a more soulful sound. And for that, we're going to use a mix of major seventh, minor seventh, and finally, we're going to get to a single dominant seventh chord. In this progression, we're going to use this voicing of a G major 7. We're going to use a B minor 7, a C major 7, and a D7. But we do also sneak in an out of key chord, a C minor. It's really one note out of key. We're going to talk about that. Let's plug these chords in their proper place in this 3/4 time track. Notice how in that progression we've got the C minor 7 to C minor to G major 7 sequence that features a nice chromatic movement on the second string, the E to E flat to D. The C minor is the curveball there. It's kind of the bridge, but it's really an interesting thing to add to this chord progression. I like this walk down. It sounds really nice to me. Now keep that movement in mind because we're going to really highlight that E flat during the solo. Speaking of that, let's grab the slide and start breaking down this solo. Alright, for this section, this really sets up the main melody. And by the way, I'm playing in standard tuning here, but you could play this in open G if you like, because these strings that we're going to work with throughout the entirety of this solo won't change from standard tuning to open G. Alright, with that out of the way, we're going to do a little pickup measure here where we play 3 notes. Alright, so that's the F sharp on the 4th string, E, open 4th string for the D, okay? And then what we're going to do is slide up and play the F sharp, let it hang for a 3 count. That's an entire measure in 3/4 time. Then we're going down to that E and we're going to pull off with the slide to the open 4th string. Then what we're going to do is punch that E, come back to the E before repeating that line. And then repeat that line in its entirety before a compound slide. This slide can be kind of tricky because we're going to connect some notes and kind of visit this F sharp along the way, but it's a great expressive style of slide. We're going to go up and then momentarily visit that F sharp before going back down to the 2nd fret and then another one of those pull-offs. It's a cool slide sound. And I'm just plucking, plucking the string 1 time there. Then hammer on and come back up to that F sharp. Now that F sharp is a cool note choice because we're playing, you're going to hear a lot of G major 7 over this part. So that's right out of the chord, and it's one of the tones that gives us a lot of character. So it's a cool note to kind of hang out on. Careful with your intonation there. I got a little sloppy with it. All right, after that long phrase where we kind of connect these notes with the slot, notice how at the end we hammer up from the open 3rd or 4th string up to the 2nd fret. So that D up to the E note there. And that can be tricky to get down as well. Feel free to substitute it with, picked notes if you need to kind of get yourself moving, but I would love for you to work on these pull-offs and hammer-ons with the slide. I think it's just a cool way to get expressive, even more so with the slide. So after we do that, we slide back in to to that F sharp right there to kind of end off that phrase. This next bit calls on a more advanced slide technique of mixing in fretted notes and notes played with the slide and doing it kind of quickly and switching between the two techniques between them. But I think this next run is a great place to start working on it. So let's get started with the next piece of this solo. Alright, so what we're doing here is this is happening over the B minor 7 chord, and we're going to call out a couple of tones from that chord in our line. We're going to start by sliding into the F sharp and then fretting the A. Then we're going to play the B on the 3rd string with the slide up to the 5th fret, and then we're going to switch back to fretting. Now I've got my fingers really kind of cramped together here because I want to switch to fretting that B note with my index finger very quickly. And then we're going to play slide on the G and slide on the A. That's back on the 4th string. One more time. Alright, so 8th note rhythms there, and once I get here, I'm going to let it hang, and then we're going to get ready for another run very similar. That's the final phrase here, and you can see that we've got some of that mixing of slide notes and fretted notes with some 8th notes thrown in there. So very similar to that climb that we just did, but the notes that we need here are 7th fret, then we're going to fret the 5th fret on the 3rd string, that's C note, and then slide is going to take care of the D note on the 3rd string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the 2nd string, and then this part's really cool because here what we're going to do is kind of let that ring, but we're really going to target now for the top of the next measure this E flat 3rd string, right? That's when the C minor comes up. Hard to play here. There we go. Let's do it like this. It's when the C minor comes up in the track, and so this E flat, that E flat, they match, and this is where we're kind of hitting that sweet note. It kind of jumps out in the line. Then we're just going to go back to the 2nd string and then drag this back to the 7th fret before sliding up to the B as the track gets back around to G major 7. All right, and then you can loop this around and start back with, because the progression is now cycling back to the G major 7. I love that moment where we slide up into that E flat and really letting folks know that not only do we know what the chords are, but we know what makes this chord special. We know that the E flat is what makes that C minor a minor chord, and it's what makes this part stand out. We acknowledge that, and it sounds really sweet. If you dig this video, check out my other slide guitar videos right over here, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, practice smart and play on.